people won't buy them because they're too expensive. I mean, the micromanometers that my company uses, we use this as like a kicker, but the machines we have start at $500 and go up to $1,200 that we do our diagnostics with. So Nate asked me last year to make this, and so I just made it. And so I'll have it before the new arst.
Yeah.
Um,
Just in time for the symposium.
yeah, simple gauge. Um, we have, it's one of our gauges that we sell for other machines, but we had it made so it has a maximum of 60 Pascal and it's battery powered. So really a quarter of an inch. But if you're doing diagnostics in the floor and you got more than a quarter of an inch, you really don't care. Um, but real simple device, um, reads down to a thousandths. And so what I did was build a carrying case for it so that you could just pop it in the case and your ports come in the side. And now you have a portable micromanometer that's inexpensive, under $150. And that's the cheapest thing I know out there that can read down to a thousandths is Canadian, and it's 250. There are a lot of gauges that say they go down to a thousandths. You look on the screen and it's got four digits, but they might be 10 or 50-inch gauges. And then you read their performance, it says plus or minus 1% of scale or 3% of scale. Well, if it's a 10-inch gauge, 3% of scale is 30 thousandths. That's not going to help you very much when you're looking for, five. So that's why we built this. So the
Ah,
guys can have something that's accurate, that they can have that's relatively indestructible. You can drop it, it's not going to break right away, and it's not, $500. So that's
ec- excellent, excellent. I'd like for you to pull that back up once again when we get going,
yeah.
in case somebody pops in and misses it. There's a lot of people on these that you know how we are with time, but a lot of people catch them later in the week too. So so it'll be handy for everybody to be able to see that.
Yeah, we're now live streaming over to Facebook, so I feel like we may have missed the presentation.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's over,
Yeah,
All
Bill.
right,
we were yakking.
we can wrap up early. That's great. Everybody enjoy their weekend.
Yeah. Well, if you've got us in, then I'll just it's Gunner and Matt with Obar Systems, and they're going to talk about anything they want to. But it's been interesting so far in just light conversation. But I've had a lot of people lately interested in, as I said earlier, alarms and especially multi-unit alarm systems that'll meet national requirements. So I'm certainly I'm anxious to hear this because I'm tired of telling everybody I don't know a thing about it. So I'd like to know just a little bit so I can go one step up from that before I say, hey, call Matt. So
Well, yeah, if we can start, I'll pop you off. Why are we in the alarm business? And so a heavy portion of our company is vapor intrusion. And for vapor intrusion, we need sophisticated alarm systems. We need system alarms that can alarm at the spot, that have telemetric output. We have our own telemetry system. We have systems that can handle up to 100 inputs at a major site or at an apartment complex. And, they're relatively inexpensive, but far more expensive than the typical radon company would be able to spend on a local alarm. And probably about 5 years ago,
Early COVID, right?
yeah, Bill Broadhead's a very close friend of mine, and Bill came to me and said, "Hey, we're into the regs now, and we're in a revision here, but there's been this requirement for alarms that's been sort of grandfathered, not because they don't want to have alarms, but because they didn't have any alarms for people to put in as a requirement." and most of the stuff out there people were pretty dissatisfied with. So Bill said, would you make an alarm for me that would be for radon guys? I know your other alarms are a lot more sophisticated. They have telemetry out, they have all kinds of stuff. But is it possible to make something that's high quality for under $100? Would it be possible to make it for under $50? And so I spent about 6 months working with the different manufacturers who make our high-end stuff, and basically got them to tailor make alarms specifically for the radon industry that meet all the requirements and all the hopes and dreams of everybody as far as simplicity and lack of failure. So the first alarms that we came out with were alarms that were plug-in and had the capacity to have an audible and a visual, and then had the capacity to silence the audible. I spent another like 4 or 5 months developing a battery powered alarm, and it had the identical functions as the plug-in, but we had to do a lot of engineering and a lot of software in order for that alarm to have a delay, because that alarm would alarm if the power went off, whereas the other alarm was powered, so it wouldn't. So we need to build in a delay. We built in a delay that can be configured up to 99 hours. So that way, if the power goes off, they're not going to hear the alarm for a couple, 3 days. The other thing was having the alarm batteries last a very long time. Some of the people are using nickel cell batteries out there. Some of them using the little half double A's. And my engineers said that those things are going to last, depending on whether they alarm or not, once or twice, maybe 6 months, a year. 2 years would be a miracle.
Assuming that the alarm never went off, or there
Yeah,
was
the
never
alarm
an issue
never,
with
right.
that battery out of the bag.
And it has to do with the alarm being aware all the time. So the computer in the alarm, the chip always has to be running in order to be aware. So what we developed was a double or triple A double battery, two double triple A's, and another alarm that also has audible, visual, and shows the vacuum on a digital gauge. And that alarm has 4 A's. And we already have that alarm out for what, 4 years?
We're going on over 4 years.
Over 4 years at Matt's house, and those batteries are still running, reporting the vacuum levels all the time in a digital display, and the alarm has been triggered. So we know that one's going to last a very long time, and we know our AA one or AAA ones are lasting over 2 years. So that was really important. I don't want people to have to go out and change batteries frequently. We try to make the changing of the battery really easy. The digital face alarm is a very high grade alarm. It's over $80.
Yeah, right now we're just over $80. Unfortunately, couldn't avoid some of the tariff issues earlier this year. I think probably now's a good time. Let me pull up the slides so they can get a visual on these things here. And let me share the screen. Make sure you guys are all seeing this.
Everybody got this?
Yes, I sure do.
Okay. All right. Let's skip through there. So the way I laid this out was basic to most sophisticated. I mean, you guys all have used mini Helix gauges, and this kind of solves the issue of installing U-tubes outside, where eventually we all know they're going to dry up. You're going to get other moisture in there, and it's going to need to be replaced very soon. So we have a pretty rugged ABS enclosure that's gasketed. We provide you with the gauge pre-installed, 2 feet of tubing pre-installed. That tubing's plenum rated, UV resistant. It does include a system label that details that this is not measuring radon. Can be oriented however you like to. This one in the picture here is vertical. We also do it horizontal. Really your preference. We can build these things very quickly for you. And for $55, it's really a value that you're not going to find anywhere else. So that's as basic as it gets for an outdoor gauge. Much better, much more professional looking than a YouTube, and you're not going to need to service this for a very long time. And now getting
Yeah,
into
the
the
battery
AAA
pack,
batteries.
this is the AAA battery alert. Um, and it is dip switch programmable for the period of time for delay. Uh, the small button at the bottom underneath the dial is your push to silence. So you push that button, it'll silence the alarm, but it'll keep flashing red. The dial in the middle is your pressure differential setting. And you can set that for, all the way down to 0.080. So basically a 12th of an inch. And some of us do have systems that run at a quarter of an inch. So you'd like an alarm that has the capacity to be triggered below that and be reliable. We tested these and we test every one of them that goes out. So they are very accurate. I mean, that 0.080 is a very accurate setting on that. So high quality product. What we recently did for that was obviously it's a little bit cumbersome as far as how it mounts. We've mounted on the wall for a while, but now we had it tooled at the factory so that you can use a very large zip tie, which we supply, and literally zip tie it to the pipe. And it actually looks pretty good when it's done on the zip tie setup.
Yeah, there's a few things we can do for that. Even in a slightly skewed orientation, there's two mounting holes there. So you could vertically mount this thing on the pipe and zip it in with a couple screws, and it doesn't change your accuracy more than a few Pascal, I believe.
Yeah.
No more than 5 Pascal. So as long as you're really not up against the bottom end of its range, that wouldn't affect you whatsoever, and it might make it easier for you to install. But now that we have the zip tie notches in there, it's literally as easy just wrapping it and tightening against the pipe, and that's really all you need to do. More of an aesthetics thing. Some of our customers like them to be labelless, like you see here. We do have labels on them, which when we get back after the presentation, I'll show you a few different versions. But you can create your own labels. We can ship them without labels. We'll pretty much customize anything for you.
And right off the bat, this is not a sales thing for us. If you're buying them, or you'll have a supplier that you're working with, we supply most of the suppliers in the country. That's why we did this as a brown label product. And stay with your supplier, keep buying from them, and we're just as happy to sell to them and have them sell them to you. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always come to us. That's definitely our pleasure, but not trying to drum up sales for the company. Just want you to have the products and use them. So battery powered alarm. This is very cool. It gives you a display.
Actually, Gunn, before you go on this one, I just want to go back to this one and just kind of clarify something. So these two look identical up on the screen right here, and because we're talking about outdoor alarms, so that one on the right there, everything on the inside of the lid is the same as the other one, but this one right here is actually rated to be mounted outdoors. The little sound holes that you see around the alarm buzzer have been sealed, and the access hole for the push to silence switch has also been sealed so that moisture can't enter this. So we do have some clients that didn't, if you're looking at, cost savings and if putting these in a larger enclosure to keep them weather tight's an issue. This version of it is available, really like a couple dollars more. It's nothing crazy. Does need to be special order. We typically stock some, but I just wanted to let you guys, since we're talking about outdoor alarms, this is an option with a solid door that we can get for you. All right, back to the double A.
Yeah, the double A is 4 AA alarm. It's lasted over 4 years at Matt's house. I guess we've been making them for about 4 years. Uses the same sensor and technology as our real high-end alarms that we use for vapor intrusion. It can be IP65. It has audible and visual and can be silenced. available in a bunch of different pressure differential ranges. It's a beautiful alarm. You're doing your $1,500 system or your $2,000 system. Maybe you don't want an $85 alarm, but if you're doing a $5,000 system, it sets itself off much nicer than say an alert and a YouTube manometer. It's just a really good looking product, very professional.
Yeah, and this one we can get an line powered version if you prefer as well for the same price. And this one is it's going for a little bit over $80 now. And just wanted to give you guys some outdoor mounting options. Again, can be customized. We've done some of these recently for some customers. I believe it's out in Illinois. You require, I think it's a 3 by 5 inch state sticker. So if we need to make room for that, we can go into a little bit larger enclosures. I've had customers for years install the version in a 6 by 6 by 4 enclosure with a clear door. So if you do have a multifamily apartment complex or something that the O&M plan is for the maintenance to walk around weekly or monthly to check on it, they don't have to open up the gauge box. They can look right through and see your live pressure reading. And these things are programmable down to the Pascal for your alarm. You could really fine tune these things. And then, as Gunnar stated earlier, you have up to a 99-hour delay, and that's for silence and for actuation. So you can do a lot with these, and it's one of the reasons why they're a little bit more sophisticated. They have all the same options that our commercial gauges have in them, with the exclusion of output. So a lot of customizability with this. Just by themselves, they're IP65. Typically, we recommend a little bead of additional silicone around the label on the face, but the battery door is gasketed, and they're siliconed into the enclosures like that, so we keep water out of it.
So line power GBR25 is a gauge that we use if you're in vapor intrusion or possibly a high-end radon system that you want something with telemetry out. These are line powered gauges. They have all the features of those large face gauges, but they're 2.5 inches. They're available in ranges from 1/4 inch up to 40 inches pressure differential. So there's not a system out there that they can't satisfy. Highly accurate, push to silence. And we have a few different versions that have different options for output. And we'll talk about those in the next little bit. But this particular one is GBR25T, which is a transmitting model.
Well, this one is this is going to be your basic GBR25. These we don't typically stock, just based on the cost of them. Most clients go to the battery powered versions, but this is just an all-in-one digital display, built-in audible, visual, programmable, no output, no relay. This is kind of the bargain basement of the GBR25 series. And then, moving on to the 25R, it's really all the same features. This one, it has 2 relays. The first relay we use to power the switch and the external alarm. And then same thing, same ranges. We typically stock these for commercial applications, stronger fans. So 10s, 20s, and 40-inch ranges are in stock. We can get the lower ranges if we need to. And then the 25T, the biggest difference here is instead of a relay output, we have an analog 0 to 10 volt and a 4 to 20 milliamp output. So that can be connected to remote monitoring, telemetry, building management systems, that sort of thing. But all the 25 series have the same features with the display and how programmable it is. They all come included with a power cord and a length of tubing. And these, I would say, they offer a little bit of protection for outdoors, but we would always recommend installing these inside of like a NEMA 4 enclosure so they're weather tight, and then we want weather tight connector for the power incoming as well. That kind of brings us to the telemetry portion of it.
Yeah. So I don't know, half dozen years ago, we were putting in a ton of wired telemetry, basically sensiphone sentinels and the old 780 series. Um, and I decided that we should have something that is wireless. So I worked for about a year on creating a wireless network sensor. This was used, originally was designed for vapor intrusion, high-end systems, but it has evolved to be a system that environmental companies use to monitor entire sites. This can manage over 100 different inputs into one gateway. So a basic network is a gateway, some type of wireless sensor, and something that triggers that wireless sensor, and that creates a network. We talked earlier a little bit about apartment buildings. So apartment buildings, townhomes, schools, in order to meet the requirements for installations there, whether it's radon or vapor intrusion, you have to have a alarm, audible visual for every device, every blower. And that becomes complicated in a school where they don't want that, or a condo or townhomes. Um, and so what we do with that is we use a wireless system. So the cheapest way to do a wireless system for that is just a pressure switch. Doesn't require any power, turns on and off. Hooks up to one of our wireless sensors that is a normally open, normally closed sensor. So it shows on or off. That wirelessly communicates with our gateway, and that can communicate with a localized alert alarm that we place in the building, perhaps in the main office or perhaps in the maintenance office. And that satisfies the local audible visual for all of the systems. And you get telemetry notifications to the installer or to the management or whoever it needs to be, unlimited telemetry notifications. It makes for a very easily installed system and doesn't cost much. Costs less than you would think. Those individual on-off sensors are less than $150, and a switch is like 25. So for under $200, you have a wireless setup for every blower in the building, and the gateway is under $400, and that can manage a building that has 100 different fans. So, and then that local alert is like under 500. Yeah, under $500. So you can really imagine that you can build this huge wireless network very cost effectively, doesn't take a huge learning curve. And so all of our people that are doing those large buildings, we have like 100% saturation in that. Once they've used it, that's what they recommend and they do, rather than trying to set up little remote or little alarms everywhere, and maintenance is never going to follow up. And it's a moneymaker for the radon person or whatever, because as soon as the system goes down, they get a notification. And if it's a school, townhome, or whatever, it's going to be fixed right away. It's not like residential where the system could be down for a year and nobody could care. You got anything to add on that?
Yeah, well, I just piggybacking off of that. I mean, you get into schools and multifamily, and one of the biggest requests is, I need to satisfy the requirements, but I can't have a classroom disrupted by a local alarm, or I don't want a tenant, in a HUD complex, hearing an alarm and, disconnecting it. So, going to wireless telemetry where you are going to have a digital display locally if you choose to, but you will know immediately if you have a fan failure, and that notification is going to go to either a centralized office or to the people that it matters to, somebody in maintenance or the mitigator responsible for the system. So we can avoid some of those issues where people are unplugging or breaking things because they don't know what they are and they're annoying them. And then most of our other units that we covered as well, the programmable stuff is also programmable for the audible version. So you can silence the audible, but still maintain your visual indicator. The digital display ones will flash low when the pressure is below your programmed alarm set point. And in the case of the GBR alerts, whether it be the battery powered or line powered, you can remove the buzzer from the board if you didn't want an audible indicator. You'll still have the LED, But that is an option for some of the multifamilies where audible's maybe not the best thing for you. All right, let me get out of here and we'll go back.
Let's see if everyone left.
That's true. We couldn't see. Where's my phone? Stop. All right.
They're back.
Good. Ben, I think Bruno had a question early in this. Did you pick up on that?
Sorry, I've got to unmute all my things here. Yes, his was, can you silence the outdoor one with the hole closed?
Sure. Yeah, you're going to access. So the only difference with, I'm assuming you're talking about the GBR alert, you would just need to remove the lid in order to access the silence switch and the jumper settings. But everything inside that, the circuit board is identical. It's just the lid is sealed up. So just 2 Phillips screws, pull that lid off, and you can hit the silent switch from there.
But I mean, everyone tries to go on the cheap for apartment buildings and condos and try and figure out a way to do it. And there, obviously, the least expensive, most effective one would be the telemetry with just a vacuum switch. Other things would have batteries or be line powered. So you can imagine if you had 10 systems, you'd have to have, according to guidance, 10 extra line powers because you're not supposed to have the same line power to the fan as you're supposed to have to the alarm. So line powered systems have that issue. But if you have just a pressure switch, that pressure switch basically will trigger the alarm. That alarm will now become a part of the alert that's in the building that will flash. And it also has a screen that tells them what to do. It says fan number 9 is dead. Contact Obar Systems, contact Joe's Radon or whatever it is. And the number can flash right across the screen. So you literally program your alert when a system goes down for the maintenance company to call you. It's a pretty simple device and it meets all of the requirements. People are afraid of telemetry like it's something new and complicated, but the system I put together is all web and cell based. You have an app on your phone and you literally scan the devices in. The devices have a barcode on them. Once you set up your network by powering up your network, the network actually asks you if you want a device, add a device, and to add a device, you just scan it in on your phone. And that device is now a part of the network. And depending on what it is it a temperature sensor? Is it an open close sensor? Is it a telemetry output sensor? You can scale it and create its operations in a matter of minutes. Every Carvel, every grocery store has this type of telemetry in it. So when you're at your grocery store and you see that little thing that's about the size of a matchbox in there with a tiny little antenna, that's the temperature sensor for that freezer. And their entire system is running on that. And so this system is so robust that it can manage all of those. And the minute something goes down, it lets somebody know. And that's how, Carvel and all of the refrigeration all over the country is kept in line. So this is the size of this is a sensor that would be an output sensor or a normally open, normally closed sensor, a little bit bigger than those temperature sensors. But so some sensors are dedicated. You put in a temperature sensor, the system knows what it is, it starts measuring temperature right away. You put in an open closed sensor, open means what? Closed means what? So if it's a vacuum switch and the switch is closed when the fan is on, closed means good. When it opens, open is bad. That's an alarm. So these sensors literally take 2 minutes to install. Super, super easy. They have 2 AA batteries in them. And their life expectancy with the AA's reporting hourly is about 10 years. So 10 years from now, this will be obsolete, I'm sure. So the batteries will last long into obsolescence. So very, very, and the range is up to 2,000 feet for a commercial setup. So sometimes you can do an entire apartment complex with just one gateway if you're under 100 things. If you do an Amazon warehouse that's 1 million square feet, because of all the machinery and all the background EMF, maybe you need two gateways. But the gateways can be basically tied together. They create their own network. You hit a button on your screen called Format Gateway, and those gateways will automatically look at all the sensors to see who has the best communication and create the network out of that. So it's a system that you could have 1,000 on, but each gateway can only handle 100 devices, which is a ton. We've only had a few times out there where we've either had an excessive number of sensors or an excessive amount of EMF and concrete walls where the system couldn't reach out to everything in there.
Right. And the nice thing is you just add another gateway and you
Right.
in the right spot and you're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, $400 and problem solved. It's not there's no tragedy here. So we have had high rises where they've had sensors for different reasons throughout the building. And, when you got 10, 15 floors of, 8-inch concrete, it's tough to get a radio signal through it.
I have a question. You talk about the battery life of these things being so long. That's just assuming that the alarms aren't needing to run a lot. Is that correct?
Correct. If the alarms get triggered all the time, I mean, that takes a lot of energy. Matt's has been triggered though.
Oh, I live in an area where the power is very, very hit or miss. I mean, we probably have upwards of 8 to 10 power outages a year, some lasting, a few minutes, some lasting a few hours. And I'm still running with the original batteries, and we installed my system 4 Julys ago, I believe. So we're over 4 years on the same AA batteries. And that's with the display updating, I think, every 5 seconds. So that's one of the other things you can program on these things too. How often that display updates is also going to use a little bit more battery life. So we default to setting it to update every 5 seconds to preserve as much as possible. But I mean, that's why I said in the presentation, we're pretty much gonna guarantee you 2 years, and it's more likely 4+ years on the 4 AA's. And from what we've seen testing on the AAA's, 2 years is also a minimum of what we're gonna see, unless, like you said, somebody hits the silence button and just kind of forgets about it, and it's constantly flashing for months and months, and then at some point like that, it's
Right.
you're not going to get your full 2 years.
They do have a low bat warning. Batteries are super easy to change. So they do have a low bat warning. The digital, these sensors here, when you configure them, they also have a low bat warning where they can give you a text or an email or a call based on when the battery reaches 50%. So I mean that I still am a mitigator. I've done over 40,000 houses. I stopped counting at 30,000, 10 years ago. I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm probably the oldest guy left. Started in 1985. So I understand unique understanding of what you guys go through, and the nuisance calls are the biggest pain in the ass, after storms, rainstorms, snowstorms, whatever it is. When I built all this stuff, I intended it to work well. And that's why Bill called me. He knew that if I was going to build it, it was going to function. And it was going to function well. It was going to last a very long time. And it's not going to be stuff that is a nightmare for you,
Yeah. And we went through several iterations before we actually launched it to the general public.
Yeah. Fortunately, we were putting in 10, 15 systems a week. So we got to run it for a couple of years before we ever told anybody else about it. And then we just sold it to friends and family for, guys that I knew in the business for 20 or 30 years. Said, hey, go try these things out. So we beat the hell out of everything before we sell it.
Yeah. And on this guy here with the display, if the battery does get low, it'll alternate your pressure reading with a low bat warning. So you'll get pressure, low bat, pressure, low bat, back and forth, back and forth. And I think at that point you have about 2 to 3 weeks of time to change the batteries before the batteries will actually go dead. And then on the smaller, the alert alarms, they'll have a little battery chirp, every few seconds to let you know that the battery's going dead too.
And these are things you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear the battery chirp or the low bat, but they're there. And, you know, again, Bill came to me and just said, if you can make something that will work, it'll be great. Um, and we made stuff that works. Is it the core of my business? Is it a business? It's not a business. It's something that we sell in a business. Might represent 3% of what we sell and what we do as far as gross, but it's important, and that's why I said I want you to buy it from whoever you're buying it from. You do business with Festa, do business with Dave, whoever you do business with. If they don't have it, call them up and get it from them. But almost everybody has it. Everybody but Redonaway. um, so the truth of the matter is, I'm perfectly happy with them getting the sales, them being a full service company for you. I don't need to sell these alarms as part of my. It's not a part of my retirement plan. Doesn't matter how many I sell them. We have stuff where we sell one of them, it makes what I would make in 2 months on an alarm.
Well, I will add that positive comments have just been unbelievable when we start selling this product. So it's doing nothing but growing with us. And another thing that interested me in calling you folks, besides the customer service, was the positive comments about the product quality on the home end. Uh, so uh, so I've found I like to I like that quality aspect that the feedback is just tremendous for that.
Good. Yeah, I mean that's what we went for. I mean, basically, my whole policy is it's not a matter of when something costs more with us, it's not because it's better, it's because it has other features. The same quality has to follow out whether it's a $500 alarm or a $50 alarm. It's the same quality product. It's just that one has more features than the other. And so you're getting the same quality product that we're selling for $175. It just doesn't have telemetry out. It doesn't have two extra relays in it. It doesn't have those things, but the core product itself is a high quality product. And that's what we went for. As I said, it took 6 months of my life basically to engineer all these things. It wasn't an easy task. And you asked earlier that I bring this back up. So I built this device for everyone. It's a pressure differential monitor. It's under $150. It's accurate below a Pascal. It's accurate below 4,000s. It's totally portable. It comes in a hard rubber case. It's the same high quality sensor that we have, but it actually is a higher degree of performance. It is because the factory has different levels of performance, and this is the highest degree of performance as far as accuracy. And its scale is 60 pascals max, which is basically about a quarter of an inch, um, under $150. Every mitigator should have one in his box because you should be taking floor measurements during your installation, if not your design. So we use this gauge as a backup. Be honest, we still use our DG500s, DG700s, DG1100s. And these are gauges that, I've had for decades, but also spent, 500, 700,000 dollars a piece on. So I wanted to make something that had the accuracy of a DG500 that guys could honestly use in the field. And Nate asked me to do this. So Nate's came to me and said, Gunner, nobody's doing diagnostics, nobody's doing their measurements, and a lot of it has to do with nobody wants to spend the money on a digital gauge. Would you make one? So he asked me that, and I literally finished this today. This is the prototype case for it, but it's a rubber case, and relatively indestructible, lightweight, and so when your guys drop it on the ground, they won't smash the gauge. But it's a good product. And as I said, when we go into the field, we have our expensive gauges, but if anything goes down, we go right to these. Everybody's got these. My radon guys have these. And so when they do an installation, they make a call. If they don't have vacuum all the way across the floor, it's like, send us a picture of the drawing of the house you're in. Tell me what the pressure differential is. 25 feet away from the fan. And this is the gauge that they use to do that with. So, you know, and then we make a call. Hey, thing's 40 feet long. You got vacuum 25 feet away. It's 6 picocuries, let it roll. Or throw in another suction point, make sure you have the entire house taken care of. So we have communication with our guys in the field, but this is the gauge they carry in the field, because if they carried my $1,000 one, they'd ruin it within a week or lose it. So I can afford for them to lose one of these. I'm probably going to make the case in yellow so that it is less likely left behind.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, we use these even in our vapor intrusion business. We use this gauge, and it is the foundation gauge for all of our alarms. This is the basic 25 that he was talking about. No output, no nothing other than the ability to read vacuum, and this one reads it very well.
Yeah, 4 AA's, and that should last a very long time in that, because you can shut it off when you're done.
When do you guys propose that to be available?
I'm going to have available for the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I already ordered. We probably have like 50 gauges.
We have some different ranges. The lower range ones we're fairly limited, but I mean, we could, you know, if anybody's interested sooner, we probably can put one or two together for you.
Yeah. So we'll have them for the show. And it's my turnaround time with the company now is we just have stock orders. I just add something 4 to 6 weeks. You know, I could have 100 of them. It's not but I was very disappointed. I had other things. I made a little kit that was $250 that included 2 of these gauges, but loose. No, nothing to hold them in. You had to take them out of the kit to use them. And it was a little cumbersome. And I realized that it wasn't, you know, just holding it and using it is not as professional and not as easy. But I also included a mid-range gauge, a low-range gauge, and a pitot tube for $250. I've had them at the symposium for 2 years in a row, and nobody buys them. So that tells you where our heads are in the radon mitigation business. I mean, it was half the price of a gauge, a single gauge that does what this does, and nobody bought it. And a pitot tube, nobody. And I built a pitot tube again specifically to make measurements of air easy, because it's like an art form. If you've ever used a pitot tube with the sliding it in and out, making sure it's square and everything. But I built a pitot tube that you cut a 3/4 inch hole in the pipe, and you mount the pitot tube onto the pipe, and it's stationary, and it's a specialized dual tube pitot tube. And Broadhead tested it, and it was more accurate than his 4-inch gauge, more accurate, as just as accurate as his 6-inch gauge. So, you know, extremely accurate, $30. Does anybody buy it? No, because nobody takes air measurements. You know, in the vapor intrusion business, we sell fans, of course, that go up to $3,000. People call us all the time. I've got a system I installed. It's not working. I think I need a bigger fan. I think I need a bigger ROI. Well, what's your ROI? Oh, I think it's around 20 feet. Well, what is it? Well, it's around 20 feet. Well, what vacuum you're at? I think it's like 10 inches. I think the fan does 10 inches. What's your airflow? I don't know. Why is that important? I don't know, because I can't size a fan without knowing what the airflow and the vacuum is. They're the 2 critical numbers. So nobody takes airflows out there. And that's why, you know, we are a poke and hope business from the standpoint that probably 90% of the stuff that's put in there is cut a hole in the floors, stick a pipe on it, go out to the, you know, mount the fan outside, pull the trigger on it, and test. And that's great when 90+% of your stuff comes out good. It's the 10% that kills you. And that's when knowing how to do diagnostics and having the basic tools, or like my guy drilling a hole 20 feet away, and I know I got 9 thousandths 20 feet away. When that house fails, I'm like, we'll put another pipe in. You know, we're only running 45 CFM. We're at, you know, 2.2 inches. We can afford to put another suction point in. That's fan's going to have more than enough capacity. We're good. But if I was running at a 1/2 inch and 120 CFM, no, I can't add another 120 CFM to that blower. I need either another system, or I need a blower that's capable of 240 CFM at 1/2 inch. So adding another suction point becomes understandable, but I know what to do because I have those two pieces of data, airflow and vacuum.
I think that Bruno had a question. I don't know, Bruno, do you still have something?
I'll unmute. Hey guys, this is great. Actually, David asked my question, so I then put my hand down. So no, that's great. And yeah, I'm happy to be one of your early adopters to test out one of these field testers because sounds great. I don't really believe in the ones that we have paid 2 or 3 times that amount on. So I like it. We'll give it a try.
Yeah, they're super simple, and you don't lose. You're not miserable when you lose it.
Good point.
Oh, come on, our guys take really good care of all of the tools. What are you talking about?
My vapor intrusion guys have all the brushless DeWalt's. My radon guys all have Ryobis
Uh,
because they're in attics. They're on the other side of block walls. They're all kinds of places.
My first conversation, shame on me, Gunner, but I didn't realize that I could also send my customers to you for vapor intrusion motors.
Oh, sure.
I wanted you to cover that just a little bit for
Well, I built the first radon fan with Reiner Blumster in 1987. That became Reiner Blumster became RB Canalflact. RB Canalflact became Fantech. So I've had an evolution of blowers for 40 plus years. About 15 years ago, I wanted to get into vapor intrusion. I needed a more powerful blower, and I had been using big radials. And I went to Radonaway and said, I need a bunch of HS 5000s at the time. And I asked the price, and he gave me the price. And I said, I got a break for, I need 7 of them. He said, nope. I said, I got a break if I buy 10 of them. He said, nope. We're the only people that sell them. They cost too much money and blah, blah, blah. And I hung up the phone and I looked at my partner and I said, he said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to build a much better fan than that. So I went out and again, the same process. As a mitigator, I wanted a fan that had everything you wanted in vapor intrusion. So I made it intrinsically safe. That way you can put anything you want through it. I made it modular, whereas every other fan in the radon and the vapor intrusion business is your fan breaks, you go out, you take the whole fan with you, you put in a new fan. If it weighs 250 pounds, you have 5 guys with you, whatever it takes. If it's an HS series, you take the whole box off the wall, you mount a new box, you replumb it, you put in all new electric. So I designed blowers where the motor assembly was modular and all the architecture of the fan stays there. So when you go out to replace a fan, it's like replacing a radon fan, but easier. You open up the box, you undo 2 threaded fittings, you unplug 2 electrical connections, you put your motor back in, you thread your 2 fittings in, you plug in your electric stuff, and it's running exactly where it was. So the other thing I did with all our blowers is I made them infinitely variable speed control. Because before in vapor intrusion, if you had a blower, you had a job, you had to pick a blower that job fell within. You didn't get to, customize a blower. You just said, I need a blower that's bigger than what I need. So I developed blowers that had potentiometers on them so that once you put it in, you just sped the blower up or down until you reached the goal that you wanted and you were done. Saves a ton of electricity. Unfortunately, it makes the blowers last a lot longer. My plan was for them to die every 5 years, I'll admit that. But now they're running 7, 10, 12 years out and they won't die on me. So either blowers die right away for one reason or another, or they just run forever. But once you go out to replace a blower, we say it takes longer to get the ladder up on the building than it does to take the blower out and put the new one in. Again, did that for us, make life easy, but that makes life easy for everybody who uses that product. We started out with 2 basic blowers, and now we have 4 blowers ranging anywhere from one that we use for residential radon and for vapor intrusion. That's the 76 SOE series that gives you 16 inches of vacuum and it'll do about 120 CFM. And you use that fan at like 80 CFM and 6 inches, and you wouldn't even know it's running. It's balanced up to 15,000 RPM, and it'd be running at like 5 or 6 at that. We have another version of a 76 that's a more powerful fan that goes up to 30 inches. But unlike the HS series that does 30 inches but only does 50 CFM, this does 30 inches and it'll do over 150 CFM. So when the HS is done at 50 CFM, this fan still is running at about 20 inches of vacuum. So totally different product. Then we developed the 89 series, which will do over 550 CFM and it's capable of about 14 inches max. And then the Beast is a blower that does over 1,000 CFM and can go up to about 22 inches of vacuum. And we've used all of these different blowers in various sites. We do about 45 to 50 vapor intrusion buildings a year, and probably somewhere around 125, 150 systems a year. So we've, done buildings that are little 5,000 square foot buildings, and we've done buildings that are 1.2 million square feet. So all our blowers are the GBR series, are designed to dovetail with all of our other products. Again, there's nothing like them in the world. Why? Because we've made them specifically for vapor intrusion. The other thing is that, so I used to use radials that weigh 250 pounds. It would give me 400 CFM at 20 inches. They weighed 250 and you needed a lift to get them on the roof. You needed a cart to carry them around. The blower that replaces that is the GBR 76 UD, and it weighs 22 pounds. And 2 of those will replace that 250-pound behemoth and still cost less. So you might be micromanaging some of your suction points, but the reality of it is you're not putting a 250-pound fan on the roof.
I mean, even the Beast, even the 12.3, it's under 60 pounds. So you could legitimately have somebody walk that thing up a ladder with it over their shoulder.
Yeah, so all of our blowers were designed with installation in mind. So even the stands that we built, we used to build stands with the erector sets. We'd be there with all the little bolts and nuts and cutting stuff up. And I said, this is ridiculous. So I just had we engineered a stand, and I have a company manufacture for us, and it takes 6 bolts and it's together. And it takes you like 5 minutes to have a roof stand together, as opposed to like half an hour and a ton of nuts and bolts. So, all of those things were designed to make installation simple.
If I call you and say, "Hey, I've got a vapor intrusion job," what do you want? What do you want me to have in my knowledge base before I bug you?
Well, you should have diagnostics. You should have a full understanding of what the building is about, and you should come to me and say, I have a building with a radius of influence of 20 feet at 10 inches of vacuum and 44 CFM, and I'm going to have 6 suction points, hopefully, on a fan. And I said, well, you need a fan that does, 256 CFM at 20 inches. So either we're going to use the Beast, or maybe we parse it down to 3 76 UDs. If that building is 200 feet long, it's much better to have 3 smaller fans 40 feet apart than it is to try and pipe everything to 1 fan. It might seem like a good idea because you only got 1 roof penetration, 1 electric, whatever it is. But when you think of all the 6-inch pipe that you're going to be running to carry that 250 CFM over that 400-foot building or whatever it is, it doesn't come out to be a good sense thing. So we provide that information to people freely. Like, let's look at your design. Maybe we'll break it up into 2 fans, or you only need 10 inches of vacuum over this section of the building, and you need 20 over here. Let's use an 89 over here, and here we'll use 2 UDs, and you'll get the best performance that you can out of all the blowers. So it is usually not good to try and go with large scale systems, multiple suction points. Once you exceed 5 or 10 suction points, you've really gone beyond the point of practical. If they're 40 feet apart, just think about it. You're building a system that could be, 300-400 feet long. Better to have two systems that are like 120 feet long, when you go in the middle of those two. So that's what we help you with, not only the standpoint from the ability just to help you have a fan, but we'll help you with your design. I mean, we help people all the time. And if you're in way above your head and you're in the weeds, we're like, you're in the weeds. We'll come out and do diagnostics and it's going to be X. And then you guys can install it. So you talk to Ralph Medor, you talk to a guy out in California, you talk to a guy in Michigan that we do business with. We started out that way. Guys who were in the weeds or had projects that were way ahead of them and said, would you help us? And we came out, did the design work, and said, you can install this. This is not above your head. This is the same thing you've been doing. It's just a little bit different. And we're going to help you. And Ralph Medor does a ton of vapor intrusion down in Texas. There's a guy in California,
Eddie Hutchinson.
Eddie Hutchinson does a ton of work in California. A lot of the jobs are ours, but we give them the jobs. If someone in California calls us up, we sub it out to Eddie. Ralph has gone on his own, and Duke out in Michigan has done dozens and dozens of jobs for us. So we're not afraid of someone learning the business and helping them. We've done it multiple times. I'm not the type of person that says, "Oh, I'm giving away the store." I don't think of it that way. We haven't, if we don't do the job and you do the job, you're using our equipment, you're using our telemetry, we're perfectly happy to help you. And if you're in the weeds and you need our help, we'll tell you, you're in the weeds, you need our help. We have to come out here and design this thing for you. You just don't have enough information.
Excellent. Is anyone in on this going back? Has anybody got any further questions about single family or multifamily alarm systems?
Yeah, just had somebody on YouTube say that they're just looking into monitoring, but that was pretty early in the live stream. So, any more information on that? I'm sure Bruno might have a question.
We can do a full blown, different day presentation on remote monitoring and telemetry. I mean, I probably do, one every week or two for somebody. That's a whole nother. We can be here all night talking about that stuff. Yeah. But that's something else we can set up. And if you wanted to set up, another one of these one day, specifically for vapor intrusion and fan selection, Gunnar and our engineer Dan also teach a CE course at Rutgers. They actually have one coming up next week, but they usually do two right. a year?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 a year. So, I have a course coming up Monday. If anybody wants to jump on it, Matt might be able to help you out as far as giving a link to it at the end or whatever. But it's this one is, remember what the name of
these case studies, right?
Case studies out of Rutgers. It's for vapor intrusion, but Dan and I give a course called Principles of Vapor Intrusion at least once a year. And we go through everything from our perspective as to design, what the design criteria are, how to do diagnostics, and pipe, how to size pipe, how to size a blower, what the cost impact of different pressure differential selections are, what different state guidances there are, new construction. We go through everything on a 6-hour course. The course we're giving on Monday would be a helpful course for anybody who has a little experience in vapor intrusion or would just like to see about it. And what Dan and I did was we took 3 different sites that were difficult and presented different issues. We went through each site from the evaluation of the site to the diagnostics of the site, and then went through our decision matrix as why we chose this particular approach over this approach, why we chose this blower over that blower, and eventually came to a conclusion, installed it, and then followed up with what the post-mitigation analysis of that site was. So that's a very interesting course from the standpoint of making you think about all of the things, making you think about, you know, uh, it's very unique, and I'm not going to take all your time because I know that we're running at the end of this thing. We're lucky in New Jersey. Bill and I are lucky in New Jersey and Pennsylvania because our stuff goes back to the 1700s. We look at buildings that are 250 years old. And every 10 or 15 years over the last 250 years in our area, there has been a housing boom. So I look at buildings that have been made constantly and in different soil types. So we've got the Redding Prong, we've got mountains, we've got the beach, we've got everything. So we're looking at buildings over 250 years. And I always tell people, you become expert in the buildings that are local to you, if that's how far you travel. And you can literally walk into a neighborhood and almost predict what the ROI is going to be. Um, we got the lucky in that we get a new challenge every week for the first 10 years, where you're walking into a house from the 70s, from the 50s, from the 20s, from whatever it is. And I have the same experience in vapor intrusion. We're doing work in Michigan and Texas and California and Colorado. So we do, and that's what I like. I like seeing new stuff all the time. So the experience that you get from us and when we do these things is a whole experience that involves understanding not just what's underneath the floor and what the pressure differentials are, but the difference between a building built in 1914 and a building in 1920. And the reason I say that is in 1914, in this area, in the industrial boom, we had a short period of time from 14 to 17 during the war where the buildings were built on top of industrial slag. It was this black sort of popcorn, 50-foot ROIs, tremendous stuff. And it ended in 2000 in 1917. And why did it end? Because we developed trucks. And now trucks could carry stone and dirt, and we had bulldozers. All the things that came from building a tank in World War II instantly translated into construction. So that's something that you'll learn, or it's fun to learn, that when you're looking at these commercial buildings, I can walk in a commercial building and look at the roof structure and the metal and say, this was built in 1915. I know it. And this is going to have slag underneath it. So that's, but that's what you have when you go into a building to do vapor intrusion work, whether it's in Colorado or whether it's in Texas or whatever, you have to understand that in Texas, they pour monolithic slabs. In Colorado, they wouldn't have the slightest idea what that is. Okay. So every state is going to be different. And that's why earlier on I said, you go up to Canada and most of their stuff is built in the last 50 years. And Texas too, for that matter. Texas has got a lot of old stuff, but it's had such a boom in the last 5 decades that most of their construction is from the 60s forward.
Sure. Sure. Ben, you got any comments, or has anybody else got any questions? While we got these two guys here, we need to take advantage of it.
I'm not seeing anything over on Facebook right now, but and I got the comment from YouTube as well. We have mentioned that a lot of people are watching these later in the week. We're back to Fridays, hoping that people can get those jobs done by the end of the week and maybe check out and join us for these. So it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces today. And if you've got questions now on any of the platforms you're in, whether it's Facebook, YouTube here, feel free to jump in. There's a lot to unpack here too. So let it digest a bit.
Sure. Excellent. I some of it was above my head for sure. But it was very, very interesting, and I'm kind of glad that I've made contact with these two guys. I think it kind of started it on a personal level over trying to get more alarms, and that, as I said, that single family alarm has become so popular because of its quality that we had a little glitch for a little bit of time, but it caused me to have a little bit of conversation with Matt and Gunnar both, and I'd like to have you guys come back one of these days. I think it's very interesting what we all learned here today.
When is that seminar on Monday? What time is that? Do you know?
We usually start it late because we have a lot of people in California and overseas that take it. Matt will look it up
I'll
right
see if I
now.
can find
I
it.
think we used to start it at 8 in the morning, and then all of a sudden, people in California, we had people in Korea and stuff. That
Waking up in the
really
middle of the
early
night.
here.
Yeah.
So
Oh, here.
for the California squad, I think we moved it to like 9 or 10.
This one is, yeah, 10 Eastern.
Yep.
10 Eastern.
So like 10 to 2, right?
That is a 10 to 2:30. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's yeah, and I try to have fun. I used to love to teach in person, but we've been teaching online now for 5 years. But we also I mean, this course is relatively low attendance. I think there's like 30 or 40 people in it. But our usual stuff, not Labor Day week, hits the 150 people on. So we get a pretty big attendance. A lot of people take the course either more than once or take every course that we give. So we have a pretty decent group of people. And Rutgers does a really good job. I've been with them for over a decade.
Yeah, I was trying to figure. Is this a free course or is it pay for this? Or?
No, what is it?
200.
195, maybe two.
Well, if you bring your friend, you get a discount.
There you go.
This one is 250 or 200 if you register one or more people with you.
Nice.
Yeah. Rutgers makes a crap ton of money out of me.
Sounds like it.
Think about it. They got 200 people. It's $50,000.
Right. I'm
That's
sure
what
they're
they're
sending
there
all
for.
that to you, right? 100.
No, I don't.
90%.
Trust me. It's another I don't know why I do this basically for free. I do know because I get absolutely a ton of goodwill out of it, and we certainly get a lot of vapor intrusion jobs from. I would say 80% of the people on the courses are licensed site remediation professionals or engineers, or state. So we do one that's called, which is a good one to take. From that perspective, we do one for regulators. So we do one so the regulators understand the industry and how their decisions impact both in cost and performance.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, I think. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, Ben, I just sent you that link. If there's anybody you want to forward it to, feel free.
I'll throw it in the
a few
Facebook
more hours
chat.
to register, right?
Yep. Yeah, perfect.
And then we're happy to share that little slideshow we did with you as well if you want to post it anywhere for your clients and customers.
That'd be great. Yeah, we definitely we're creating a database of all this information, so it's available. So we're about a year and a half, maybe a little bit more into doing this now. So we're starting to get a pretty good group of information and data and stuff. So for sure.
And you two will be pretty close to each other as far as setups at the conference, I hear.
Yeah, I think we're right across from each other at ours.
There you go.
Perfect.
We have a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'll bring a football. We can throw it back and forth.
This is the first year I'm not teaching. I am, and you can put that on the blog. They've asked me to run for the board of directors for ARST. So I am running for board of directors. People would like to support me. And I'd like to see some things change. One of which is the education that they offer at the conferences. Offering it on Sunday morning, you're not helping anybody.
Yeah.
And my thought would be to have it during the evening during the thing. A lot of people don't want to go out and go drinking, would rather have a course. Get some information but coming in on Sundays, flying in a whole extra day, staying a whole extra night. And it's just it hasn't been great. I mean, I still get 30 people or something that come to the class, but it really is that needs to be reorganized so that it functions for the group better.
Yeah, last year was my first year, and it was I was interested just to see how everything worked and the schedule and everything else. And so I've been to a lot of different trade shows in different fields. So just kind of getting a feel for what the expectations were for, some things are like, we're going to start at 7 a.m. and we're going to go till 10 p.m. and there's something like, and then people are exhausted. Some things have like way too many options or too many, breaks. And so, yeah, it's there's always room for improvement, even if it's going well. Right. So.
Yeah. Hey, the organization has survived 40 something years, 38 years or whatever. The reason I'm involved with it is because I've only been started half a dozen years ago, if that. And it was at the behest of Bill Broadhead. We were teaching together and he was like, Gunnar, we really need to do this. And so I started doing courses for Arst, and I started getting a booth, and I started doing papers. At one point, I did 6 papers in 1 year. And I like the organization. There are other organizations that I'm a part of or am not a part of out of choice. And Arst has accomplished stuff. Okay, they've gotten standards written. They've done good things for the industry. And there are other organizations that are self-serving for the group of people that started it, and they're not benefiting the industry. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I said I would go for the board of directors if I can have some sort of lasting impact. Good, that's my goal.
Yeah, this is my first year speaking. I was surprised that the slots were 20 minutes. I feel like that's
Right.
barely enough time.
Very nice.
So
Yeah.
I haven't announced my my seminar. I guess you could look at the list, but so my seminar is because we've been doing a lot of these, obviously a year and a half of all these different tips and tricks and things about building and growing your business. Mine is going to be 101 things that you can do to build and grow your business, your radon business, in 18 and a half minutes. So I figured out that I have around 14 seconds per idea. So I hope people come. It's going to be chaotic, controlled chaos.
I'll definitely come.
Yeah.
So
it'll be fun.
Just to see you get through that many in 18 and a half minutes would be
it's
fun.
going to be, yeah, I'm working on breath control. I'm working on not breathing for that amount of time and just going full speed. So yeah, everyone I've ever spoke to in this industry, we all have the same thing. None of us chose radon. It chose us, right? We all fell into this, and for whatever reason, we haven't left because we're doing work that matters, and so. But the topic itself, I mean, is, we all could have, like, with all the skills that we all have, we could have gone into, a lot of different businesses and things like that. We chose the poisonous gas that kills people. So it's one of those things where it's drab. A lot of the content that we have to listen to and we're looking at, these are lives that are being affected by it. So I was hoping to create a seminar that for 18 and a half minutes, because I figured I need 90 seconds to introduce myself and 45 to introduce and 45 for a conclusion. So that's why I'm at 18 and a half. So hoping to pick up the pace of the room a little bit in between the poisonous gas that kills people and the poisonous gas that kills people. So
Well, I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah.
I had 1 year where I had to do 3 of Broadhead's,
yeah,
and no Broadhead, but if you've ever seen any of Broadhead's charts, I at one point just said his charts are kind of like trail mix. There's a lot of different things in there, and they're all good, but it's tough to digest all at once. And so yeah, he couldn't come 1 year, so I wound up doing 3 of his presentations, 3 of my presentations. And basically all day long, it's like, and next we have, Gunnar Barr. Again, Gunnar.
spin a wheel. Hey, look, it's Gunnar. Perfect. Well, I'm not seeing anything we got on any of our channels right now. I think we got all of our questions asked. So guys, thank you so much for joining
great.
us today.
Thank you.
And I know I know that a lot of these products, David's carries, and then obviously the other systems you can go right to Obar, and I've linked over in the Facebook our group the links for their class. Find a friend, and you won't have to pay those Ticketmaster fees. So the artist is not getting paid from the Ticketmaster fees. So, but yeah, it's good information to go through those classes for sure. So, anything else, guys? I think that's it.
Thanks again, you guys, for coming on, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Absolutely.
Great.
And looking forward to seeing you guys at the symposium.
Yes. Have a good weekend.
You
All
too,
right.
guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great time.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. We will see you next week. We're doing Fridays now, so Friday 3:00 Central, 4:00 Eastern. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.